Hi there, art nerds. Merry Christmas Day. So we have completed 13 days of Papercraft activities. I don't expect you guys to have done all 13 of them, but I did all 13 of them. And we've ended up with 15 different paper children that you can hide about your house for the holiday season. Hopefully this has inspired you guys to even try making your own, using your own original characters. Today, on our final day, I'm going to show you guys how to make two ornaments. We have here a 2020 or old year ornament. Kara is dressed as a sugar plum fairy and holding a 2020 banner. And then we have a new year ornament, 2021, and it's a baby Kara with a 2021 banner pinned to her little, her little bundle, her bundle, whatever you want to call it. So over the past few days, the past 13 days, almost a full 2 weeks, I have shown you guys so many different Paperchild designs. Some of them have been extremely easy. This is one of the really easy ones. Some of them have been pretty complicated, like yesterday's Christmas Eve's Christmas tree topper angel. Gosh, I hope you guys did that one. It turned out to be one of my favorite. Even though it's complicated, it ended up working out just right, and I'm really proud of how it looks. It's on my tree right now, as you guys will see at the end of the video. But whether you chose to do the simple ones, or maybe try some of the more complicated ones, whether you chose to print out the included full color illustrations that I've included in the description below and cut those out and assemble those, or you wanted to color your own, I hope you guys have enjoyed this activity. I sure have enjoyed sharing it with you guys. As I've mentioned in some of the other videos, this has really been a challenge. This was as arduous as many of the other month-long challenges that I've done, and it really did end up taking me almost all of December to do this, because you have to keep in mind I'm watercoloring these and then I'm allowing them to dry, I'm scanning them, and then I'm cutting them out, assembling and posing them. So even if I was doing one every single day, that would still be pretty time consuming, and some, like our angel, took longer than others. So this is a two-part tutorial, or a two-in-one tutorial. So we're gonna watercolor these illustrations first. I'm going to allow them to dry completely, and then we're going to assemble them, but it's going to be all in one video. Some of the entries in this series were done in two parts where we focus more on the watercolor, but by now y'all are old hats at watercolor, right? I'm not showing any techniques, anything different with watercolor that I haven't shown you guys in the past. And if you guys check the description below, not only will you find a printable liner in case you want to print this out and color along as kind of a New Year's activity, you'll also find the full watercolor scan for this in the description below. So normally I charge for my line arts. It's one of the ways that I try to offset some of the costs of running this channel, and it's one of the ways I try to earn a little income. But for these Advent paper children, I wanted to share them with you guys freely. It's my gift to you guys this year. But if you enjoy the content that I make here on the channel, if you find it useful, helpful, or informative, and there's all kinds of art educational content here, from reviews to tutorials to very simple how to draw tutorials, it would be fantastic if you considered supporting the work I do on Patreon in 2021. So I want to give you guys a heads up. I'm going to be taking a hiatus in January. There's going to be some content coming up. There's going to be some mechanical pencil reviews, but I'm taking a break from YouTube. I kind of burned myself out doing these paper children activities, to be really honest, and they didn't quite have the effect that I really wanted them to have on the channel. But I do hope eventually they find an audience who will enjoy them and who will appreciate them. I do have to admit to you guys that these are some of the worst performing videos I've recorded in a while. I mean, even my vlogs do better than this. And it's hard to see that, you know, when you spend so much time working on something and creating something, and to see it do so poorly, it's just kind of hard. But I also feel like, so this year, when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do as Christmas content for y'all, what kind of stuff I wanted to make, what I wanted to share, I saw other art YouTubers who were already starting to share some of their Christmas art tutorials, like in around Thanksgiving, and I thought, you know, that's really cool, and I'd really like to do some of that, but it became really important to me to just do what I knew how to do and do something that was unique and special to me, something that you wouldn't necessarily be able to get on some of those other channels. And that's no slight to them, it's just me trying to do me. So we've got a combination of tiny characters, Lilliputians from my comic, 7-inch Kara. We've got a combination of watercolor in a cartoony style, and we also have some 2.5D, 2D paper art going on here. Since we're taking these two-dimensional characters, cutting them out, doing a little clever paper engineering, and turning them into characters that you can pose in your home or use to decorate your home or decorate your gifts. And that's something I'm sure there are other channels that are doing this. I'm not going to pretend like I invented this concept. I for sure did not invent this concept, but I think there aren't a lot of people necessarily doing this. And this is something that I enjoy doing. It was something that I did to promote the Volume 2 Kickstarter, and people seem to really like it. So I thought it would be really cool to do a bunch of Christmas-themed designs for you guys. And that way, people who have kids at home that they want to entertain, this could be a creative, artistic way to keep your kids kind of occupied when they're home from school, or maybe they're doing homeschool this year due to COVID. So I tried to keep in mind the suggestions and the requests that people have made of this channel over the past year, and I tried to put that into these tutorials. So it's a little bit of a bummer to see that something that I was really excited about and I was really passionate about and something that I felt was kind of unique to this channel didn't do as well as I liked, but that's just the risk of YouTube. That's the risk of social media, you know. You can do something you really believe in and you're proud of, and I am proud of this series. Just because the numbers aren't great doesn't mean I'm not proud of the work that I did. I can look at my tree, I can look at my dining room and see all the different designs I made. And just because it didn't work so well this year on YouTube doesn't mean this can't unlock future doors for me. This doesn't mean that a book publisher might not see this and see some potential in me and decide to hire me to create illustrations for them or to design activities for them. So I'm not like totally doom and gloom about it, but it does make me kind of second guess wanting to do longer series that are more in depth to share on YouTube, because they just don't do that well. They don't really have the traction that I would have liked. So it's definitely something to think about. Now, something I've noticed is that a lot of other art YouTubers, especially the ones who focus more on showing people how to do things, a lot of them have shared videos about how they've almost left YouTube, or they were really thinking about leaving YouTube, and how Patreon was kind of the reason they didn't leave YouTube. And that's something I do want to talk about in depth in a vlog later on, but I have to say, for the most part, up until 2020, that was true for me too. I don't have a huge Patreon, but knowing that people really enjoyed the work that I was making and that it was worth it to them to support it and to help me continue to make this work to share freely with others, that was kind of the incentive that made up for the fact that my channel never really grew and it never really developed and I never really found my footing here on YouTube. 2020 has been a hard year for everyone. It's been a hard year for me. It's been a hard year for many of my patrons, and I understand why some of them have had to step away from Patreon and have had to make some difficult choices this year, and I totally respect that. But losing their patronage also makes it less sustainable for me to continue to do what I'm doing as well. So I've got some difficult choices that I need to make going into 2021, and that's one of the reasons I want to kind of take January and really think about what I want to do and how I'm spending my time and how I'm using my talents, whether YouTube is really worthwhile, whether I've said everything that I kind of feel like I need to say, and maybe I need to take my life in a different direction with more private tutoring. So those are all things that I need to think about, and if I'm like stressing myself out to make content, I'm not really giving those important decisions as much time or as much energy as they deserve so that I can make the choices that are the best for me. So that's definitely something I'm going to be thinking about this January and really considering, and maybe even praying about, because it's a really big deal. I've been doing YouTube since 2016. I've been sharing free art resources since 2009, and my life hasn't really improved or changed a whole lot in that regard, and I think it's time to see some growth. And sometimes the only way you can see some growth is to let something go, even if you enjoyed it, or to let something go when it's no longer helpful for you or serving a purpose for you, and it might just be a distraction for you. But that's something I gotta think about. that's something I have to really mull over. So I had decided to give December the best I knew how to give. So I did the Paperchild series, and I also did a bunch of drawing tutorials because I've gotten feedback from teachers and parents that they utilize my tutorials with their students and their children. And I've done a bunch of live streams. I upped my live streams from once a week to twice a week. And I just tried a bunch of different things in December, and I never really felt like any of them really clicked for me. So yeah, it's definitely time for me to take a well-deserved break. I do hope that the stuff I made this December, the stuff I shared with you guys this December, brought you guys some happiness, brought you guys some company, brought y'all some comfort, because that was my goal, to try and reach out and make other people's 2020 a little bit easier or a little bit more bearable, whether that's through creating drawing tutorials to help them learn how to draw something, or for them to entertain their kids, or to help educate their children, or to create activities that people could do as a family with their loved ones. That was my goal for December 2020. And regardless of how well I think the numbers hit the metric, I do think that my efforts hit that goal. So I'm proud of the work that I did in December of 2020, and I'm proud of the work that I did in 2020 in general. Whether or not it had the effect that I wanted it to have, can't help that, but I sure gave it the best I knew how to give. So my Paperchild has been watercolored. I appreciate y'all letting me get that off my chest. Probably 10 people will hear me say that. And so I'm going to let this dry for 24 hours. Then I'm going to, well, remove it, and I'm going to tear away at a 90-degree angle very carefully so I don't rip into my watercolor illustration. And then after that, I scan this before I even start cutting anything. That's how I'm able to offer you guys a full color scan that you guys can print out, cut, and assemble yourselves. So to our left, we have our 2020 Sugar Plum Fairy. To our right, we have our 2021 New Year's Baby. These are the materials that you're going to need to assemble these two ornaments. You can use any kind of ribbon or string that you want to use or that you have handy. I've got some gold ribbon and some gold bric-a-brac, or ric-rac, I think. So I decided to use those for this tutorial today. You're also going to need some popsicle sticks, some single-sided tape, some double-sided tape, a pair of scissors, and if you wish, and if you have adult supervision, an XActo Blade. So as with all of the other Paper Children tutorials that I've shared during December, you're going to want to remove your excess paper. Now, this is the last one I'm doing for 2020. There are no more Paperchild tutorials I am creating in 2020. Taking a break, like I said. So with this excess paper, could draw on it, could paint on it, could save it for scrap, could use it for swatches, but it's not getting used for any more Paper Children. So I used a paper cutter to get me some long straight cuts and to remove the paper quickly. Now I'm using a pair of scissors to just kind of remove more of that excess paper. So as I've mentioned in the other Paperchild tutorials, you can do what's known as a halo cut, where you leave a halo of paper around your illustration, or you can do what I'm doing here, which is called fussy cutting. And if you happen to have a Cricut or another die cutting machine available, that could do this for you so much quicker than what I'm demonstrating here. So with some of these more thin, narrow areas, like with the safety pins on the bundle, You want to be really careful when cutting this. This becomes kind of a structural problem a little bit later on that we can solve with some single-sided tape. And once I've made my life easier by using the XActo Blade to just do some of the finer cuts, I'm going to remove most of the paper using a pair of scissors. And I'm just kind of calmly working as I go. This is a good activity to do listening to some music or watching some Christmas movies, or while you're waiting for like your Christmas dinner to finish cooking, or while you're waiting for bedtime so that you can go to sleep so Santa can come and bring you your presents. Doing artistic things, doing creative things to fill your time is a wonderful way to kind of fill your soul and to fulfill some of those needs. Everybody has the need to make things. Everybody has the need to express themselves. And art can be a really wonderful way to do that. And you don't have to be the best artist to do creative things. It's great to just take a risk and maybe fail to try something new, because when you succeed, then you're like double proud of yourself. Alright, so we have our 2 ornaments cut out. Now it's time to do a little bit of paper engineering. So I have here some scrap watercolor paper, popsicle sticks, our ribbons, 2 different kinds of tape, and a pair of scissors. Most of the materials used in these Paperchild Papercraft videos are very easy to find. They're very affordable. So I'm using some of the double stick tape. I'm applying it to the back, and then I'm going to apply it to the front. And I'm basically making a tape sandwich to reinforce that safety pin so that it's not so fragile. If you have matte tape, that's going to look a lot better than the shiny tape. And I'm also using my XActo Blade to just kind of remove that island of plastic in the middle of my tape. So for the larger ornament, I'm going to use some of the scrap paper, and I'm just going to reinforce her arm and her leg, the ones that are hanging. The arm that's hanging is actually kind of a weight point for her. It's a support point, so she's going to be holding on to some of the ribbon using that hand. So I want to reinforce it so that it doesn't get bent or twisted or folded. And I'm just applying some double stick tape, folding it over, and taping down my paper reinforcements. Now I'm doing very similar with a popsicle stick, just kind of giving her a bit of a spine, and then I'm taping it down with the single-sided tape. For the smaller ornament, we don't need a popsicle stick for this. We can just use a scrap piece of our watercolor paper. I'm applying some double stick tape to this scrap of paper, and this is just to help, give it a little bit of extra structure, a little bit of extra stability. So now we're going to create the loops that these are going to hang from. And this bric-a-brac wants to knot on itself so bad. This stuff was so annoying to use. So what I did is I made a loop and I knotted it. And I taped that loop to the back of our bundle. You could leave it like this. You could be done. But I want to wrap some of my bric-a-brac around the bundle so that it actually looks like that's being used to kind of hold the bundle together. So I've looped it through the safety pin a couple times, and I'm going to tape it down now so that it doesn't go anywhere and trim off the excess. I'm going to use a little bit of glue here, and I'm going to put that on the knot, and all that really does is it prevents it from coming undone. It kind of keeps everything together. So I'm not gluing the knot to the paper, I'm just gluing the knot so that's less likely to unravel. So for the second ornament, I wanted it to look like it was wrapped around her arm, so I used 2 pieces of double stick tape, and I kind of twisted the ribbon around her arm and taped it in a couple places. I made a knot and I made a loop and I knotted it, and now I'm using that same bookbinding glue to kind of prevent the cord that I'm using here from unraveling, because it really wants to unravel. So at first I thought about doing a bow using the gold ribbon, the same gold ribbon. I really didn't like how it turned out, So I ended up scrapping that idea and I went with the same blue ribbon that I used on the Snow Day ornament. Speaking of the Snow Day ornament, that's one of my favorite children. Not paper child, one of my favorite paper children. That one turned out just really, really cute. So I used the blue ribbon just to tie a bow around it. You can use whatever. You could glue bells to it. You could glue holly to it. It's really up to you. But there you have it. For Christmas Day, we've got an old year and a new year ornament for you guys. You can hang them on your tree. You could also use them as gift tags on a present if you wanted to. And here are the materials that we use to assemble these. It's actually pretty simple. These are some of the easiest to assemble paper children I've designed in December. And as you guys see, we ended up using the same materials over and over again to design a bunch of different paper children. So all that's left is to find a space on my Christmas tree to hang these. And like I said earlier, I promise this isn't a pink tree. I have a white Christmas tree and the exposure is just doing funny stuff to my camera. So I'm going to hang one in the window and then I'm going to hang one on the other side. This tree's getting pretty full of Kara-inspired ornaments. So if you guys enjoy my art and you want more of it, you can check me out on Instagram at instagram.com/netosoup. I'll keep posting there during my hiatus. And you can also check out my comic, 7-Inch Kara. You can read it for free at 7inchkara.com. And I'll continue posting there during the hiatus as well. I'm really just taking a hiatus from YouTube to just kind of figure myself out. So I'm really pleased with how these two ornaments turned out. And I'm really proud of all of the work I did this December. So hopefully I'll see you guys soon, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the mechanical pencil reviews that I've got coming up for you guys. So here is our angel. That was Christmas Eve. Then we have our Snow Day ornament. That's the one I think turned out really cute. We've got our New Year ornament. Then we've got our Treehugger here. She hangs from one of the branches. Our little Lightbearer holds one of the lights. Over here we have our Old Year Sugar Plum Fairy. Then we've got, you can't see the mitten net, but we've got Pancake and we've got Tanner. And there's even more.